Okay, can everyone see that? This over.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so like I said, today is our normal scheduled meeting for the month, and we will keep having these as we progress. I know last meeting we talked about, our meetings are monthly. The Delphi will be running for 3 weeks, and then it'll close, and we'll have like the 1 week to kind of close out and work things through before we launch the next round. And so I think that'll be like perfect timing for our meetings and kind of go in conjunction with our timeline. So that'll be super helpful for our work group. We are, let me advance this slide here. Okay, so I want to look for meeting today. I want to look at the results of our frequency analysis just to get everybody up to speed. And then I will be emailing out those documents. Like I said, right after, I'll email you all the documents that you need. Plus everything is already loaded into Calibrum, which is the platform that we're using to do the Delphi survey. And so you'll be able to access the documents there, download the Excel sheets. Everything will be in that under that one platform. I want to talk a little bit about the Delphi survey process and what that's going to look like and what to expect. I will show you, I put demo, but we actually have it ready to go. And so Pam will be able to share what it's going to look like today when you get your email. And then lastly, we'll look at our timeline. So these are, again, we collated all the studies that this work group submitted to me. We ended up able to get 21 data dictionaries from those studies. There were a few that we were not able to get just because either they weren't ready or they just couldn't send them to us at the time, which is fine. And so we had 21 studies that we looked into. These are what the most frequent data elements that popped up for the pre-hospital studies. And then if you look at the far right column, you'll see I added a notes column for ours because there were a few that either, obviously popped up with high frequency numbers, but you will not see them in our Delphi survey because either they were part of the core. So the steering committee assigned them to be part of the core, or we reassign them to a different work group. So there's a couple of acute care, a couple of epidemiology that you'll see throughout that list. But again, you'll get this, you can review it in depth a little later. But I think none of these variables will come as a surprise. It's what you would expect out of many of the pre-hospital studies.
Hey, Lizette, it's Jennifer. I'm looking at these. I don't see anything. I'm just wondering, and maybe this will get figured out in the Delphi survey disclosure. I've not done the survey yet. I will. But I don't see anything about, except for the airway device, but no other timing things. Was that not, it doesn't look like, timing of intervention is something that is a common trend. Did you guys notice that? And then any thoughts about that from the group or you guys?
Yeah, there were some timing elements that came up, just didn't meet their frequency threshold for many of the studies. But that is one that we anticipate either, there is going to be a free element component to the Delphi survey where our work group members can put in anything else where y'all think would be important that was missed through this analysis.
I think one of the reasons that it's not in the data dictionaries from past studies is because the data is rarely available on timing. But if there's one thing that, we've learned, I think over the last decade or 2 decades, is that timing of intervention, no matter what the intervention is, but, I'm especially thinking of transfusion, but, timing of intervention is so important, and life-saving interventions not delivered in a timely fashion aren't life-saving. And I think most studies don't include them in their data dictionary because it's not captured. So it's kind of that, chicken or egg conundrum, like, yeah, it's not in the data dictionary because it wasn't available, but if it was available, probably many of the studies would have included it. Over.
Yeah, good point. That is exactly what happened, because we did see it in some studies on certain variables, but it's just not popping up enough to reach that frequency.
Yeah, we should that's a really good suggestion. We should think about, coupling a lot of these things with like a timestamp variable.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And hopefully that'll allow us to capture those timings.
And with the new EMRs, you know, there's so many opportunities to capture timing. And I just don't want us to be biased because it hasn't been included in past studies. And I think it hasn't been included because it wasn't really available.
Yeah, and we can add all those in again. When you go through your Delphi survey, if we do this across the board, you know, all of our reviewers, like if you add a comment in there, we will be able to add those in the subsequent rounds. Any other questions so far? And then if you'll look at the very end of this on the second column, there's 3 variables that the steering committee actually pushed to our work group, which is type of destination, institution level, and the NEMSIS UID. So, you know, those won't have a frequency, but you will see those in the survey as elements they felt were still important for our work group to consider as a part of our team. Okay. All right. So then the next part, you know, after these totals and the frequencies were established, we then went in and broke them down into what we categorized into different categories so that it would be easier for you to review in the Delphi survey and they weren't kind of all over the place. And so one of the categories is patient vitals and disposition. And so you'll see when you take the survey, all of these will be lumped together. So you will see them in, you know, on the same page or each subsequent page. And then we did patient GCS scores. So you'll see those next. You will then see injuries, and these are all clearly labeled throughout the survey, so they're easy to navigate. So anything related to the injury type, mechanism, date and time, all that stuff will be under the injury category. Then we have incident details, which is where I went ahead and put the recommendations by the steering committee under this. So anything related to the incident institution level, that's basically, you know, level 1, level 2 trauma center type of stuff. And then all the incident information, city, county, state, zip, any of the EMS info will all go into this incident details category. Followed by interventions. So Dr. Gurney, you'll want to look at this specifically. You know, this is where the interventions, these are the ones that met the frequency threshold, and making sure if we don't have a time element on those that we add that in there in the free element box. And then lastly, patient prior medical history, which is current medications. Any questions so far? Okay. Any good? Next one. Okay, so like I said, the survey is ready to go. So this afternoon you'll receive an email from Calibrum. There oftentimes it might go to your spam folder. I know many of you were on our NTRRR project, so you might have fixed that problem for yourself, but be sure that if you do not get the email today, and I will send an email from myself letting you know these details, but the email will come directly from info@calibrum.com. And this is the style or what it might look like. So it'll have your name. It's inviting you to participate in the pre-hospital data element survey. You'll just click on the survey. And once you click on it, it'll take you directly to the survey for you to complete. And you can go, you know, if you don't have the time to complete the entire survey in one sitting, you can go back to it and complete it when you have time. So be sure to look in your spam folder if you do not get this, but I will do follow-ups as well. All right, so this is what the initial page of the survey, and you know, Pam, can I switch over to you now and you can show them the live survey since it's ready to go?
Sure.
Okay. I took some screenshots just in case, but we're ready to go.
So, you need to give me the...
Yes, I'm giving it to you. There you go, Pam.
Okay.
Here we go.
So yeah, this is the introduction page that Lizette just showed you. And just a note, these are just, you know, step-by-step instructions. If you want to refer back to all of the elements, so you can see them all in one place, you can click on this and get the Excel sheet that has them all. There's a reminder of the core CDEs that have already been recommended by the CDE steering committee. And then there's the order of precedence chart. So you have all your resources right here. You'll pace through using these blue arrows at the bottom. And then, as Lizette said, it's just a very simple exclude, no opinion, include. And if you want to write a comment to provide any context for your ranking, you can click on this, write a comment and put that in there. And then in the subsequent rounds, these comments will be available anonymously for your panel members to read and consider. Then if there's more than one element, definition, you will rank them here according to your preference. And if for some reason you mess up and you try to go on, it won't let you have two of one number. It'll switch. And so you want to make sure that you have different numbers in there.
And the idea behind the definition is to really look at it and see, you know, although FITBR is in our order of precedence is the one that we'd like to use, if y'all feel like there's something missing from the definition that, you know, you see in NEMSIS or something, we'd like you to comment on that and be clear so that we can take that into account.
Yes. And then, so this just paces through as in the order that Lizette mentioned. And then at the end, if you thought, oh gosh, where's that timing data element? You can add that here. And in the subsequent rounds, you'll be able to, that will be able to be voted on. And that's it. It'll have a progress bar toward the bottom. And at the end, if you get to the end and it still says 70% or something, you can click on this view and miss questions to see what you missed. And if you just didn't rank something because you said no opinion, it won't make it all the way to 100, but you'll see if you get to in the 90s or whatever, that's just an indication that you skipped ranking something. And that's it. Very simple.
Any questions on this?
No questions here. Thank you, guys.
If
The surveys always go to the junk email for anybody with the .mil. They always go to junk. Just so I think it's important that email goes out to tell people to look in their junk folders.
Yeah, good point. And just one for those of you who are on more than one work group, keep in mind, make sure you're noticing what the heading is, because it'll say rehab and outcomes here or epidemiology here. So just make sure you're looking at the right one. All right.
Looks good. And so if we have a problem, Lizette or Pam, should we come back to you directly, or what's that pathway?
Yeah. If you have a problem, just email me directly or call me anytime or text. I mean, whatever works for you. And Pam and I work together to get it fixed.
Thank you, guys. This is a lot of work.
We try to make it as easy as we can, but you know, if you run into anything or you notice something that we could make better, just let us know. We're happy to help. I'm gonna reclaim my host. Give me 1 second. Pam, is there a way for you to make me host now? It's not giving me my option anymore.
Yep, I just stole it, I guess. Let's see. Huh.
You see it?
Oh, I have to make you. Okay, never mind. Sorry. Got it. There you go.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, so the last thing we have for today is, again, you'll get that email. I will send an email from my own email address letting you know that you're getting it, reminding you about the junk, sending you all the attachments. And then lastly, I just want to review the timeline. So again, we're releasing it today. We will keep round one open for 3 full weeks. And then we will use that week of May 29th to make sure that everybody has everything complete and is ready to go before we add in any new elements from comments or feedback. And then we will begin round 2 on June the 5th. And so this timeline coordinates extremely well, too good for our monthly meetings. And so we will definitely stay connected each month to make sure that everybody has what they need and it feels like we're moving along in the right direction. So that's all we have for today. So is there any questions, any additions that you speak now?
This is Craig. I just have one quick question. So it looked like the options for responses, at least say relative to NTRAP, had been consolidated down into 3. I assume that was sort of just to further simplify. And does selecting no opinion, I know that in the past you said sort of you kind of pick the middle neutral option, it really doesn't help. So I guess I'm just curious one more time and reiterating that you'd like us to select either keep or not keep. And then if you clarify that the threshold that we're going to keep, like if certain elements are taken in or removed, what is that percentage threshold that we're using for this?
Pam, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's 80%, right?
It's 80%. And yes, and Dr. Newgard, to answer your question, we initially had a 5-point Likert scale. And when we, our last CDE steering committee, or maybe it was the executive steering committee, they recommended going to fewer just to relieve the cognitive burden on people to kind of parsing and so we just thought this was the easiest thing to do. And the no opinion is there in case you have no experience with that whatsoever. You just don't feel like, it's not in your wheelhouse. You can say no opinion, and then you don't have to rank you don't have to rank the definitions in that case. So just trying to simplify it. And yes, 80% is our threshold.
Sounds good, thanks. And so for the successive rounds, those will be a smaller number of variables that still haven't reached that threshold. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And then we will bring it, we talked at the last meeting, but we'll bring them back to the work group to let at each month so that we know where we're at with our different data elements. Good question. Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you everyone for jumping on today, and you will get an email from me shortly. So
Thanks.
more to come.
Great. Thanks, everyone.